Hey, welcome to my channel. Um, so in my Giants paraphernalia right now, pouring out a beer. Oop, I poured it out incorrectly, actually. Should I be drinking it out of the can? I've already done my beer club review of this beer already. It's the Alt beer. It's a Dusseldorf style amber ale. Letting it pour. Okay. Well, cheers. The Giants finally did something right, actually, for the first time. It's been a long time since we were going to see this happen, but I thought for sure the Giants were not going to release him, but they finally did. Oh, that's good. Quite honestly, yes, the Giants management have screwed up from the very beginning since they completely disrespected Eli Manning when they benched him for Geno Smith, which made no sense whatsoever. When Shermer did that, it made no sense. But it was a case where, like, at that point onwards, Gettleman was making more and more mistakes from the get go. I mean, quite honestly, I think it was a mistake when the Giants let Tom Coughlin go, or more so forced him out. I think that was the case we saw here. Um, and we haven't had a good coach since. I mean, Shermer, Joe Judge really didn't do much. And then, of course, then with Dable. Now, I would say this. Dable, so far, I think is a good coach. But only time will tell. We'll have to see and wait and see, basically. It's just Giants management has mishandled this from the get-go. I mean, the moment Gettleman came on board and drafted... I mean, I understand why he drafted Saquon Barkley. It made sense. He was the most talented person on that board, and you had to take him because, like, hey, you already had a quarterback with Eli Manning, maybe on the decline, but you could probably get another quarterback a year or two from now, so it made sense. But at the same time, it's one of those things where did someone send a chat to me? I don't see the chat. If someone sent a chat, I'm sorry, I didn't see the chat. In any case, because the fact that the Giants finally got rid of or released Daniel Jones, I don't know if things could go up from here because let's be honest, Drew Lock. I thought maybe something could come out of it, but it turns out he's worthless. Dable can't do much with them. I think more so Drew Lock does not fit into Dable's system. Drew Lock might work into another system. Send him off to San Francisco. It might be a good person over at San Francisco, good QB over at San Francisco. Um, Honestly, I don't know what the Giants should do at this point. I'll say this: if the Giants could go 7-10, 7-10, they finish at 7-10, meaning that basically Tommy DeVito has to go 5-2 with Dable. It only proves that Dable is a good coach once he has the right quarterback in place. He is a good coach when he has the right quarterback in place. Like with Daniel Jones, I think they were trying to force it as much as they could, and they did it. I mean, let's be honest. I actually ended up watching Hard Knocks. Did I want to watch Hard Knocks? No. But looking closely at it, you could see that Joe Schoen basically knew that Daniel Jones wasn't the quarterback. Even Dable knew he wasn't the quarterback. But they knew in that draft they could get a first round out of it. But in reality, I think he was trying to say maybe go, whatever it is, like maybe later rounds to get another, draft a QB in later rounds, basically. And they didn't do that at that point. I mean, they went and Tommy DeVito on drafting. It might help out from a perspective. I'll be honest. I'm hoping that Tommy DeVito becomes a folklore hero, similar to what Kurt Warner was, where he builds himself up and goes from the get go. Basically, that'd be great to see if he builds up his confidence and he moves forward. Because like right now, the fact that Tommy DeVito was a third string quarterback, third backup, promoted to starter over Drew Lock, proves that this should boost his confidence up to the point he's got that Dable has more confidence in him than in Drew Lock. So in that situation, I'm thinking from that perspective, Tommy DeVito has to step up, and I think he can step up in this case. I mean, last year he didn't have as many of the offensive weapons, but this year he has Malik Neighbors. If this comes out to be a duo that turns out to be really good, like the Isaac Bruce and Kurt Warner type of thing, hey, even better. But I will say this: as the Giants, the other aspect is there's another possibility that the Giants were looking to basically tank the season. But I'll say this draft class, there's no good quarterback in the first. There's no worthy first round quarterback in this draft class, upcoming draft class. So I don't think the Giants should draft a quarterback this time around. Maybe wait next year or the year after. And I don't think the Manning kid. I don't think he's going to be worth it. Looking closely at it, where he's playing right now, I don't think he's all that. So even though he's got football in his blood, family football in his blood, I don't think it's going to work for him. So I hate to say this, but the Giants have to look elsewhere. Now, can Tommy DeVito be that quarterback? I don't know. We'll see. However, I think more so to the point where, I've said in the past, Baker Mayfield, the Giants should have traded for him. They probably could have traded a sixth or fifth round draft pick, and they could have gotten him, and he probably would have done really well with the Giants. Everyone laughed at me, scoffed at me, and look what he's doing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, I always said Josh Rosen. Josh Rosen, at the time, I thought maybe, but now he's so far away from football that I don't think it's going to bother at this point. Sam Darnold, no. He's not gonna. He would not thrive under Daboll's system. Let's put it that way. If Darnell would have come to the Giants, he would not thrive not only in New York. He would not thrive there because we already seen him fail with the Jets. But he would not work well under Coach Daboll's system. Let's be honest. He would not work well in that system. Daboll needs your prototypical quarterback that can run like a Josh Allen, like a Pat Mahomes. Mahomes, if you can have a Mahomes, I think it works out for him at that point as well too. Or Trevor Lawrence for that matter. I would love for the Giants to get Trevor Lawrence, but I don't think they're going to trade that many draft picks for him. And I don't think Jacksonville is going to give him up so easily at that point as well too. Considering that Doug Peterson wants him. So the only person I can think of right now that could be your temporary stopgap. Again, your temporary stopgap for the next 2-3 years. Maybe a Carson Wentz. I hate to say this, but Carson Wentz, he's still only 31, maybe 32, I think, whatever it is. He's still got a good 3 or 4 years in him, I think. He's not going to be as mobile as he was before, but he's still got that veteran aspect of him that could possibly be like another Kurt Warner type of person. Now remember, when I keep referring to Kurt Warner, when Kurt Warner was with the Rams, St. Louis Rams at the time, they won the Super Bowl. When he came to the Giants for that 1 year, when Manning was, drafted, and they were hoping that, Kurt Warner could teach him, the Giants did not expect to be in the hunt for a playoff hunt at that point or have a winning record. Warner kept them pretty much in a winning record until they benched him when they started losing 2 games. When they lost 2 games in a row, they figured, all right, it's time to get whatever, time to bring him in, basically. But from that perspective, I hate to say this, but if we can get a Carson Wentz, I think he might be that temporary stopgap. Sam Darnold, I don't think it's going to work from that perspective. Like I said, I'm hoping Tommy DeVito actually does do well to the point where, if Tommy DeVito, I don't know, grows into another, maybe another Phil Simms. It's possible. I mean, let's not forget, Phil Simms, when he came out of college, no one thought who he was. No one cared for him. And look what he did with the Giants. Not only Phil Simms, again, Kurt Warner, again, stock boy from Arena Football. He did did pretty well for himself at that point too. I think this is a case where this might boost Tommy DeVito's confidence that he might. I don't think he has that mobility like Daniel Jones does, but at least he has the arm. I think he has the arm because you're going to say, oh well, no, it's not Daniel Jones' fault entirely because it's Daboll and his system as well. You're right. The thing is, Daniel Jones does not work well in Coach Daboll's system. Why? Because the fact is he doesn't have an arm. Let's be honest. I mean, you're gonna say it's well, no, hold this. The system failed him. Not entirely, because let's be honest. For the past 3 games, when Neighbors was wide open, he just missed a wide open Neighbors. He missed a wide open Slayton for that matter as well too. Honestly, it's more so to the point where I think Daniel Jones had had something going on in his mind. It's psychological, probably, maybe, who knows. But I think it comes down to this. When he was drafted, I think everyone thought that this was a career backup QB. He was a career backup QB. I don't think Gettleman realized that until after 2 years when he drafted him. And the fact is, Shermer was a good offensive coach as well too, but Daniel Jones was never going to thrive under him, and as well as Joe Judge. So I will say this: if Tommy DeVito proves otherwise, it'll only show how good Coach Dable is. Now the question is how good Schoen is. I don't know. I mean, let's be honest. He got Brian Burns. I mean, he got Burns. That's pretty impressive. The fact he got Burns and he was able to trade off Tony because like Tony turns out he was a draft bust, and the fact that the Giants were able to get two draft picks from him, that's pretty impressive. Let's be honest. But the way he handled Saquon Barkley, knowing full well what was going to happen, and the fact that he went over to Daniel Jones and like gave him that $160 million guaranteed contract practically, that shows otherwise that Schoen may be not that much of a GM per se, maybe an assistant GM, but not a good GM. But I don't know. Again, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think it comes down to this offseason, what he does this offseason. When it comes to free agency as well as the draft, what he does. If he can get a really good QB in return that will thrive under Coach Dable's system, that would be impressive. But I'm going to say more so to the point that I think if I had a choice between Dable and Schoen, Dable or Schoen, keep whichever, I think we should keep Coach Dable because I think Dable, he's showing time and time again that he is a pretty decent coach and he knows how to work with what he's got. And let's be honest, look at the Giants. I mean, they have been in some of the. I mean, they've lost by less than a touchdown basically. The only problem is like I think Dable knows full well that Daniel Jones could not throw really well. His accuracy was horrible, or he did not know how to release the ball, or could not find the open man very fast enough. And I think it shows that. I mean, yes, does Jones have the talent? Possibly. I mean, when he came out of college, everyone said he does have the talent, but he was more so a backup quarterback. I mean, let's put it this way. If Daniel Jones were to go to the San Francisco 49ers, under their system, maybe he thrives a little. Not as much, but he does thrive a little. I would love for him to go to the Vegas Raiders. Sorry, Vegas. I was about to say LA Raiders, but Las Vegas Raiders. Let him go to the Vegas Raiders and see how he does there, honestly, because I mean, I would love for the Raiders to pick him up and then they tank even more with them, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't know where you can go. It's now you might also. I'm also thinking. I was originally thinking maybe Justin Fields. Maybe Justin Fields could be a good QB for the Giants. Not a starter, but at least a good stopgap compared to compared to Tommy DeVito. I mean, I'm like I said, I want to give Tommy DeVito the benefit of the doubt, but at the same time, it's more so a case where I don't think he has as much of the talent as he has unless he develops into it. Question is, how fast can he develop? Because you're going to be in a system where it's run and gun practically. It's a run and gun type of system basically, and I don't know how well he's going to thrive on that. Justin Fields, though, I think would have thrived in Dable's system. I think based on the way Dable, actually, I think Justin Fields would have thrived not only in Dable's system, but also Doug Peterson over in Jacksonville. Because Peterson, when he had Foley and Wentz, I think the run and gun, quick shootouts and such, I think that was a case where, I think Justin Fields would thrive under that as well, too. The fact that, Trevor Lawrence is not doing well under that, I think Dable knows how to work with Trevor Lawrence and could work with him at that point. I think Trevor Lawrence is still that generational talent. It's just a matter of he's got to be in the right system with the right coach. I would love to see also the fact is the Giants build on the core crew that they have. And the core crew that they have, I'm talking about, is basically with the defensive lineman, basically, which is basically Burns, Tibbs, as well as Lawrence. They could keep those three. Those are the three core. I think that's the core you got to build around for the defensive side. You maybe build out your secondary, make it much more better than it is what it is now, and then work on your offense, specifically your quarterback, of course, but then not only that, but also your offensive line and maybe your tight end, I think it'll work out for them at that point. Honestly, let's be honest. From 2020 till 2023, I mean, honestly, 2019 to 2021, the draft hasn't been so great for the Giants. Honestly, I'll say this: where Justin Herbert was available for the Giants, I really thought Justin Herbert was that quarterback that the Giants should have drafted Justin Herbert. To this day, I still regret it that they never did, but it happens. Um, I don't know. It's more so to the point of like the fact that it made sense that they needed an Andrew Thomas. They needed Andrew Thomas because they had no offensive line. They need to rebuild the offensive line, but I think they could have rebuilt it from the not from the draft. They could have built within the deep in the draft, but also they could have gotten it with free agents as well too. Quite honestly, um, this is not a case where I think the Giants are gonna be good for the next couple of years. Well, it depends. Again, it depends on their draft class, what they do with this offseason, and how they work in the draft, basically. Okay, yes, they have a running back. They have a really decent running back, quite honestly. They have a definitely excellent wide receiver. They need another complementary wide receiver that works really well with Neighbors. Um, the question is, who do they get as a quarterback? Right now, like I said, there is no quarterback in the draft that is a first or second round pick for the Giants. Put it that way. There's not that, and I think Dable even recognizes it himself too. I think to the point of like I think more so to the point where like if Dable were given the shot as a GM, I think for sure he drafts a defensive lineman or an outside linebacker over a quarterback at this point. Um, because quite honestly, like I said, I think the Giants can still find a stopgap quarterback that's still kind of can be a game manager. Let's say put it that way. He can be a game manager. If he is a game manager, that'd be great. That quarterback that they hire. Like I said, I'm thinking Carson Wentz, but how good is Carson Wentz under Coach Dable? I don't know because he does have those injuries and his skills did decline quite considerably. But I think under Dable, it might rejuvenate him, might revitalize him, and he might become that Super Bowl QB that the Eagles saw before he got injured into the playoffs. Those 2 years in the playoffs. But outside of Wentz, sorry, I don't know who else they can take. Honestly, who they would be able to find. Maybe, I mean, honestly, let's see how DeVito does. I want to keep an eye on DeVito and see how this works out. Again, if the Giants can finish 7-10, i.e., go 5-2 with Tommy DeVito. If they could go 5-2 with Tommy DeVito, I think it proves one and first and foremost that Dable is the right coach to stay with the Giants. It's just a matter of now getting him the right players at that point. And now, like I said, the defense. I think the Giants have a good defense, line defensive core, a good defensive core unit. I think they just need those secondaries, maybe one or two good secondaries, and that solidifies them that they could legitimately become a number one defensive team compared to everyone else to the point where like can become if they can become like what the 2000 Baltimore Ravens were. All they need is that quarterback that can just sort of lead them to that promised land. Um, with that, I don't know. I'll leave it at that. I'll let you leave the comments in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. Is this a good day for the Giants where they finally got rid of Daniel Jones? Now, I'll be honest. Again, like I said, this is a case where the Giants, yeah, their management has screwed up massively. It's going to take a couple of years for them to get out of this hole. If next year they get into the playoffs because of the right moves they do, then Schoen should then become kind of, I don't want to say the GM of the year, but at least a runner-up of GM of the year at that point. I'm going to have to head out very soon, but in any case, like I said, you see my You see my basically jersey and all that stuff. I mean, I am a Giants fan, diehard Giants fan. You know what I don't have is a Knicks jersey. I have a Mets jersey, Giants jersey, Islanders jersey, Mets hat, Islanders hat, Giants hat. I don't have any Knicks paraphernalia, and I think it's because the reason why is because the Giants. I mean, because what they traded Patrick Ewing pissed me off. But hey, Jonathan, I just saw my my chat's finally working finally. Yeah, it is a good day that they released Daniel Jones. It's definitely a good day. That's why I am drinking my beer right now at this point because it's a good toast at this point. Like it's the right move at this point. Finally, they recognize it. Honestly, when they signed, I don't know about you, but when they signed him, uh, I'm gonna wait a little bit because it's more so to the point like Carl Anthony Towns is a good player, but I'll say this as a Knicks fan, I kind of was dismayed after they traded Patrick Ewing because he should have retired as a Knick. He should have retired. They should never have traded him. He should have retired. And it's kind of the curse of it's becoming the curse of Ewing. It's becoming the Ewing curse. The Knicks are not haven't gone deep into the playoffs for a while. Now that well, then again, because of well, I don't want to say because of Randall, but Randall did bring him to respectability, back to respectability with Tibbs, and then of course the fact that Brunson. Again, I'm not saying Brunson is that tier one superstar, but he's still a tier 1A until he proves otherwise and gets him to that conference finals on his own. I don't think Brunson is that tier one superstar. Carl Anthony Towns, possible. These two together, hopefully. I mean, hopefully they start gelling and meshing and they start going on that run basically. Because let's be honest, I mean, Philadelphia, I don't know what's going on in Philadelphia. So the Knicks have a shot. If they could get up there, they have a shot. But in any case, coming back to the Giants, basically the whole reason why I'm going live now is basically the fact is like I was working for the rest of the day. I couldn't jump on, but fact of the matter is, I'm happy that they finally got rid of Jones. Finally, they realized their mistake. Um, I knew the problem was is they were trying to make it work. Of course, I understand what they were trying to do. They were trying to make it work because of their own mistake of signing him for freaking $160 million. That was a stupid thing when I saw them do that, and the way they treated Saquon Barkley. It's their own fault. It's Schoen's own fault as well as Mara's fault. Mara knew that. I don't know if Mara wanted to keep Saquon, but looking at Hard Knocks and watching a little bit of Hard Knocks, it looks like Mara did want to keep Saquon, but he left it up to Schoen. And Schoen, I think, goofed, dropped the ball, should have just done whatever at that point. Anyways, I don't know how. Like I said, so I forgot some GM or some analyst, NFL analyst, said the Giants were maybe one or two players away from being back to respectable and in the playoffs. Yeah, if you have a freaking, I hate to say this, but if you have a freaking Tom Brady on your team, of course you're going to be, in the playoffs immediately at that point. I mean, let's be honest. With if you got Tom Brady, you're pretty much brought to respectability. Problem is like you're not going to find another Tom Brady unless you bring him back. But I don't want that to happen. Oh hell no. I will be surprised to see this though. The Jets, now that they have no coach, would they be willing to forgive and forget and bring in Bill Belichick? Because Belichick does want to coach. Let's be honest. Belichick wants to coach. He's even said it. He wants to come back and coach. The question is, would the Jets be willing, and Johnson, would he be forgiving enough to bring in Bill Belichick? Problem is Bill Belichick that good of a coach? Because he needs that QB. Yes, he has a great defensive mind, but from an offensive perspective, he needs good offensive coordinators. And from a GM perspective, I don't think he knows how to draft really well. But that's neither here nor there. That's the Jets. I don't know. Would Belichick come back as a Giants head coach? I wouldn't mind seeing him coming back as a Giants head coach. The problem is like I don't want him to be a GM though. But I don't know. We'll see. But like I said, I think Brian Dable is a good coach. I think he's a good coach. He's shown his ability. The only question is like if he's surrounded with if he has the right players, I think under his system they progress. I think he needs a better than average quarterback, which Daniel Jones was not. He was not a better than average quarterback. He was just below average quarterback who knows how to run. Um, but when it came to like looking for the open man, he just did not see it. And I'm hoping the Giants scouts know how to look at the QBs that are out there for this draft class. And I'm not looking at that kid from Miami because, yeah, he looks good, but he's not a savior type. He's not something that jumps off the board. There's no QB that jumps off the board compared to like a Jaden Daniels or even a Caleb Williams. And yeah, I know you're gonna say Caleb Williams, like look what he's doing with Chicago. I think give him some time. I think he'll develop into a really good quarterback. Will he become that superstar quarterback? Only time will tell about that point. Um, Quite honestly, it is his first year, so let's see what happens. Because like first year quarterbacks, they're not going to do really well. And you're going to say, well, look, Patrick Mahomes was behind Alex Smith. Tom Brady was behind Drew Bledsoe. So they did learn for that 1 year with those quarterbacks. Caleb Williams had no one to teach him basically, so he's learning on the as he's going. Daniel Jones had Eli Manning. Let's be honest, he did have Eli Manning for 1 year, and it didn't really show at that point. So I think it came to the point where the Giants need to find a QB that can develop, and I want to say Tommy DeVito can bring that spark to the Giants, but it's only time will tell. Like I said, if Tommy DeVito can bring the Giants to 5-2 right now, from this point on, win 5 games, lose 2 games, because let's be realistic, they're not beating the Eagles again, and maybe not Dallas. I don't know. It's possible they could beat Dallas, but if they can win, go 5-2, it gives the Giants a little bit of respectability, but it also shows from a factor of that Coach Dable is a really good coach, given the right quarterback. But then again, you can say that for any coach as well if you give him the right quarterback. But then again, at the same time, it's like looking at Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I don't know how that works out, but in any case, I'm actually going well over my allotted of time for lives. I rarely ever go 30 minutes to an hour, but I figured today's a good day. I've already finished my beer in less than 30 minutes, which is great. I'm probably gonna get another one now at this one as well too. Um, I know the Giants are not going to get a Justin Herbert. Maybe Pittsburgh is willing to trade Justin Fields. Maybe they release him. If they release him, maybe the Giants could pick him. And everyone's going to say, well, look, Justin Fields is not that great. You're right. He's not that great, but he's better than Daniel Jones. And I think he could thrive under Dable's system. He has that ability to see the open man. Let's put it that way. He does have that ability. A little bit better than what Daniel Jones did. But as I said earlier in this live cast or live stream, the Giants are going to need a stopgap. I don't think Tommy DeVito is going to be that stop. I'm hoping I'm wrong that he can be that stopgap for the next 2 years, 3 years before they find their quarterback of the future. But maybe, I hate to say this, but maybe the Giants bring in Carson Wentz. He is a free agent. They could sign him for 1 to 2 years. Maybe he helps develop whomever at that point. You're going to say Sam Darnold? No. Sam Darnold is not your QB. The only reason why he's doing decent of it is because of Minnesota's defense, and he's minimizing his risk. He's minimizing his mistakes. I think he learned from that when he was over with San Francisco. But in reality is he's not a quarterback. He would not thrive under Coach Dable. He would not thrive under Dable's system. Let's be honest about that. Like put him with Atlanta, he sucks at Atlanta. Put him with Carolina, well, he was at Carolina, sucked there. Put him with Jacksonville, he would suck there too at that point, honestly. If he was with Timlin, Mike Timlin's, he might have been decent, but he wouldn't have been great. So I don't think Sam Darnold is the right person for the Giants. I don't know who else could be the right person, but only time will tell. Let's see what happens. But with that, I'll leave it at that. Yeah, I've already gone over close to 30 minutes, so I'll just leave it at that and end it early. Good meeting you, Jonathan. Actually, I put top chat instead of live chat. But anyways, it's definitely good meeting you, and hopefully, I'll talk more, and eventually we can converse and talk more sports. And when it comes to Towns jersey, again, I would love to get a Carl Anthony Towns jersey, but I'd rather get a jersey for some of the Knicks drafted and kept beyond, like they had with Ewing. Um, it's more so to the point of like I don't know who the Knicks could draft this year because like I don't think they could get anyone at this point. Quite honestly, I thought maybe R.J. Barrett would have been that person, but he didn't work out really well. I, same thing as Obi Toppin. I mean, when he's with Indiana, I mean, mad props to them if they do really well, great. But without R.J. Barrett, we don't get OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, Brunson. I will say this: I might get a Brunson jersey. I may get a Brunson jersey, but if anything, I'll probably go back old school and try to get a Ewing jersey more than anything else because I can't go with anything beyond Ewing at this point, quite honestly. But with that, I'll leave it at that. I'm hoping the Knicks again do really well, and they start meshing and clicking like they did last year around this time. They started clicking, or they started clicking at the end of the year, basically beginning of the following year of 2024, and they started clicking. So I'm hoping that happens here as well too with the Knicks, but only time will tell. It'll be interesting to see how the Giants play out against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving Day. That'll be interesting to see how that works out. Quite honestly, more so to the point where like, can they? I mean, both the Giants and Cowboys suck. Let's be honest; they both suck. I don't think the Giants are. I mean, if they could beat Tampa Bay. If they could beat Tampa Bay, I mean, they are playing at home. Tommy DeVito has, the home crowd with them, and he has Malik Neighbors. Let's be honest, he has Malik Neighbors now. If they can win it, if they can beat Tampa Bay, and then come Thursday, if they could beat the Dallas Cowboys with Tommy DeVito at might again give Coach Dable some stability or some ammo to stay, not ammo, but more so gives him the ability to stay with the Giants because it shows that he is a good coach at that point. But with that, I'll leave it at that. Again, I would say it's a good day for the Giants. But with that, I'll leave it at that. Unfiltered, unedited, of course.